Okay, this is the second video before the election, and this one is going to talk about Donald Trump. Look, Trump got into the race, and honestly, I didn't even think he was going to win initially, and I believe neither did he. But he showed the fortitude, the moxie, and the persistence to win. He fought all the Republicans. I believe there was 14 or 15 of them. He fought all the Democrats who basically laughed at him and made fun of him. He fought the conspiracy put together by our government agencies, the FBI, the DOJ, the DNC, the Attorney General, and they all were collaborating against him. They were spying on his campaign, and then you had the polling places coming up with false polling numbers, trying to depress the number of Republicans turning out to vote or the number of independents who may vote for Trump. And then you look at the hate groups, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and then you got George Soros, who in my opinion was paying these people to protest and to be violent and to divide the country. And then on top of that, when Trump won some of the states, the delegates who were supposed to nominate their votes for him wanted to nominate another person. So that was people within the Republican Party that were working against him. You see, everybody worked against him. And sitting in the background was George Soros, Hillary Clinton, and President Obama, who I think is the worst president ever, developing a plan on what they would do if he did win, because they didn't want their swamp drained. They didn't want all the monies and all the comforts and all the privileges that they had taken away from them, like Obama going on vacations and us paying for it. That's a perfect example. So then, lo and behold, the world is shocked. Trump wins. And now they don't know what to do except to execute their plan. And the plan's already in place. There's people in the FBI, the DOJ, the Attorney General, all these government agencies, there's plants there. And they're working against him. So every time he wants to do something, there's people that are distributing information to the media. They're called leaks. I call them treason. And they're publishing bad things. The newspaper, which you know is an extension of the Democratic Party. That's what the media is. It's the left arm of the Democratic Party. And the right arm is George Soros. And the heart is a bunch of weak-kneed cowards. So he gets elected, and he still has spies. He's got people spying on the administration. He's got agencies working against the grain to prevent him from accomplishing things. See, to me, that's treason. They didn't want him to accomplish it, but the ones they were hurting were us. He was fighting for things that he promised to do for us, and they were trying to stall him. So he would not have many accomplishments because they decided either one, they'll impeach him with a lot of these false stories that they created, or they'll make life so miserable for him that he can't win the 2020 election. That was their plan. So what they did, part of it, is they created a couple of narratives. You had the Russian collusion. The Russians helped him win the election. Now that one you can probably blame Clinton, Obama, Soros, all coming up with it. And this went on. This was headlines for like months. And then they appointed a special counsel to investigate whether there's Russian collusion. That went on for, I think, a year and a half. Millions and millions of dollars. Months and months, almost a year and a half of wasted time that could have been more productive to help us. Instead, they used the time to help the Democrats destroy President Trump so he would either be impeached or he would not win the 2020 election. Well, the Russian thing come out to be, everybody knew it was a hoax. The report come out, they couldn't find anything. But what they did do is they created false data and managed to destroy a few lives of people that were in the Trump administration, like General Flynn. He's still waiting to be acquitted because there's a Democratic judge holding up the process. You see, that's another example of how bad our system is. See, if you got more Democratic judges in the courts, then every time there's a difference and you go to the court, the Democrats win. And if you got more Republicans in the courts, and every time you go to a Republican, you're going to win. The bottom line is we don't have courts that just make decisions based on the merits of the case. Everything's political. That's how cancerous our systems are in this country right now. Then, after that, then they got the Ukraine thing. Oh, he said this, he said that, somebody overheard it, and then you find out that the person who reported it still won't be named because Adam Schiff is protecting his name, and I firmly believe Adam Schiff coerced this person into doing this. So that went nowhere. Then you had some other people that were implanted that were Democrats that would also make up lies and stories about the Ukraine thing. But in the meantime, the evidence, the documented evidence shows there was nothing wrong with his telephone call to Ukraine. But yet they used it. More months, more millions, wasted. So what did he do through all of this? He just continued to do his job. And he's gotten more and more accomplishments than any other president in 3.5 years thus far, in spite of the fact that they were all working against him. Imagine what he could have accomplished if they worked with him. See, but this is all about power and money and control. The Democrats want to control the company. The liberals want to control the world. And they want to make money. And then you got outsiders, like people outside this country. And now you got a lot of immigrants who come in from other countries who don't like our Christian ways. Our government was founded on a lot of people that come from Europe and had Christian ways. It was the envy of the world. And these people want to destroy it. And one of the leaders, I believe, that was looking to do that is Barack Obama. Then what happened is we come up with the COVID-19 virus. So what did they do? Everybody sat back. President Trump made decisions to stop travel. And then they blame him for the virus. They blame him for the deaths. But in the meantime, he did everything in his power. He just focused on how to get a vaccine to the market quicker. He made deals with pharmacy companies to expedite things. He also managed to get supplies. He couldn't get them from all over the world. So we got some of our companies, by meeting with the corporate leaders, to manufacture the supplies that we needed. He got ventilators. He got these protection masks, the protection gowns, all of that. He even put together makeshift hospitals that Governor Cuomo never used but cried that he needed them. And speaking about Governor Cuomo, he's the beauty that killed, I don't know how many people, 10, 15. Nobody will ever know the number because it's always guarded and kept a secret. But his decision to move people to the senior homes was a bad one. It cost many people their lives, but he'll deny it. And when he speaks at the DNC, he blames President Trump. Naturally, blame Trump. Trump is the one upsetting all your lives. He's destroying your lives because he promised to drain the swamp. This man, let's take a good look at him. He works for nothing. He donates his salary. He averages about 16 hours a day at work. He hardly ever sleeps. He's always watching the news, watching TV. He's on top of everything, sometimes too much. And his accomplishments, I mean, there's so many of I stopped counting after 50. And these are not small accomplishments. These are major accomplishments. Like get rid of the NAFTA deal. Come up with a new deal with China. Come up with a new deal with Canada. Come up with a new deal with the European nations. Stop giving a lot of money to NATO. Stop giving a lot of money to the United Nations. He did all this. And he did this because he has the stamina, the perseverance, and he's strong enough to fight everything they throw at him. But you got to imagine, if you were in his place, this has got to be wearing on you. They blame him for everything. They play the blame game, but they never offer to assist. They blame, no solutions. They blame. They even blame when there isn't even an issue. They make up an issue. That's how bad the Democrats are. I would bet that Nancy Pelosi and company spent close to $200 million and wasted about 8 to 12 months of productive time that they could have been spending on the people's business. But not Pelosi and company. They rather delay things that the people need so they can accomplish their goal of destroying President Trump so he doesn't win in 2020. That's what their goal is. And that's all they care about. They'll sell you out. They've sold you out for decades. They promised the minorities this, that, blah, 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 blah. Nothing changes. The cities and states run by Democrats are the worst in the nation. Poverty, school levels, funding, trade schools. Crime is at a high there. Murders are at a high. But yet, keep voting the Democrats in. And it's very clear to me that they only care about the Democrats. And think of this. How come all these people, and this really gets to me, want to be elected and go to Washington? Okay? Most of them go through this process and they don't have a lot of money. But yet when they come out and they retire late in life because they changed the rules that there's no term limits, so they stay there forever, and the old boys club just works together to keep each other in office so they could all share a bigger piece of the pie. But how come they all leave with millions and millions of dollars? They all leave with better health benefits than us. They leave with all benefits better than us. Why do they get better benefits and better pay than we do? An example. Tell me why Nancy Pelosi, that when she retires, I don't know how old she is now, she's got to be close to 80. She's going to get paid $850,000 for the rest of her life for what she's done. Now, in my opinion, what she's done is she's occupied the chair. She's used the system to reap the rewards. She likes to be treated like a god. She rides around in limos, private planes, the best restaurants, and she's treated like a queen. That's why they want to stay in office. And they make their money through quid pro quo, under the table deals, insider information, and promising companies and stuff to pass things that would help the company. And in turn, they get bribed. That's how they make money. And you know what? They spend our money like it's water. Because they know they're not going to have to pay it back. They're going to retire with a lot of money, great benefits, and they're just going to leave it for the next people in charge. Now, to do that, you have to have no conscience. I call them RBs. So I don't trust them. I don't want anything to do with them. They are just terrible people. And now, let's take a look at some of the people in the Democratic Party that are the so-called leaders now. One is you got Joe Biden. The guy can't walk and talk. It's a shame how they're using him and abusing him. It's similar to that movie about Bernie, where the guy died and they put him in a wheelchair and they're propping him up and they're bringing him all over the place to let everybody believe he's alive and functioning, but he's not. That's what they're doing to Joe Biden. And the people pulling the strings behind him are Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, Chucky Schumer, and Ocasio-Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez was a bartender a few years ago. She's like a baby walking in the jungle of atomic weapons and monsters. And she doesn't understand it. See, they use her. They whisper an idea in her ear. And then she goes out and says it to the press. They're using her. So if the idea takes off, that's great, because they divide us more. And if it doesn't take off, Ocasio's to blame. That's what they do. And she's not bright enough to understand she's being used and abused as the same poor people have been used and abused by the Democrats for decades. Donald Trump is our only hope to keep us going forward, to help us keep the values that made this country great, and has the strong enough stamina and persistence and a strong resolve to resist them. He's what we need. So let's get started. By September 1, the war's really going to be on. It's heating up already. It's heating up a couple of weeks earlier, but we got to get rolling. Come September 1, we will surprise the nation again, and President Trump will be our next president. Thank you.